The election is over and the Palestinians have chosen their new leader. Mahmoud Abbas has just declared victory in the Palestinian presidential election. What will his election mean for the future of Palestinians? Well, joining us now from Washington is Ghalib Darabia, Political and Congressional Affairs Counselor for the Palestinian Mission to the U.S. Welcome, sir. Thanks for joining us today.
It's my pleasure.
Give us your reaction on today's events.
Well, first of all, let me congratulate the Palestinian people on this historic day. This is a historic achievement. The Palestinians managed to end this democratic elections, and despite the fact that we're living under a foreign occupations, and really it is the way forward to achieve our aspirations to live in a dignified democratic state free of occupations. Well, it is very remarkable the fact that the turnout was like over 70%. This is a remarkable turnout. This is a clear message to Abu Mazen, who has for many years said that we want to achieve a long-lasting peace with the state of Israel and establish a Palestinian state living side by side next to Israel inside the borders of 1967.
Well, now that the election's over, as you're saying, the hard work for Abbas is beginning. What will be his first step towards peace?
I mean, his first really mission would be is to get Sharon and the Israeli government on the table and try to implement the roadmap that was endorsed by the international community, including the United States. Israel must halt and stop all its military aggressions against the Palestinian people and engage in a real, tangible ceasefire where he can go to his constituents and to the Palestinian people and tell them there is an alternative, there is a way to change your lives. Remember that 67% of the Palestinians living under poverty, 65% of them unemployed. So he has to really tackle all these issues in order to gain their support to engage in a tangible peace process.
You mentioned that Sharon asking his people to put weapons down. Well, do you think that Abbas is going to be able to disarm the different military groups, and is Hamas going to go along with this?
Absolutely. I think this is #1 mission of Abu Mazen. He said it when he was a prime minister, and he repeated it throughout his election campaign, that there will be only one authority, which is the Palestinian Authority. He will collect all those illegal weapons in the Palestinian territory.
And you believe he'll be able to successfully do this?
If the international community is to support him, if the international community is to give him the real support that he needs, if Israel get really engaged in a ceasefire where it stops its aggression against the Palestinian people and we change their living conditions, absolutely he will succeed.
And what about Hamas?
Well, you remember back when he was a prime minister, he managed to secure a 52 days of a real ceasefire. Not a single Israeli was hurt in that 52 days. Why? Because there was an international support. President Bush went to the region. He told him, I am serious. I want to create a Palestinian state. So there was some hope at that moment. But we are faced with a government in Israel which is very radical. It is the most radical government in the history of the state of Israel.
What is Mr. Abbas's relationship with Sharon?
I mean, he met with him 3 times before. He went all the way to Sharon. He met him in Jerusalem. He met him in Aqaba. They've talked about hard issues. But I'm afraid this is what the American administration has admitted previously, is that they failed Mahmoud Abbas when he was a prime minister. And I hope they learn from their mistakes, previous mistakes, and try to give him the real support that he needs. People need to see tangible change into their living conditions. On the ground, there are 700 Israeli checkpoints blocking the West Bank, separating it into 300 separate Bantustans. This is making people's very difficult. So Israel has to implement its pledge to the American government by lifting this siege, by lifting these obstacles. That
and what will the Palestinians do for their part?
We, on our part, there's an ongoing discussion with Hamas, with Jihad, with all the Palestinian factions in order to reach an agreement, to have a ceasefire, and to give a chance to the peace process and to give a chance for the roadmap. So we are doing this in our part. There is a very positive signals coming out of that dialogue. We have had that dialogue in Syria, on Egypt and Gaza and Ramallah, and it's going very well. He needs just the commitment from the international community as well as from Israel in order to get that out of the other Palestinian groups.
Well, today was certainly a very hopeful step towards achieving peace. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Ghalib Darabia.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Bob.